The Savoy Inn. According to the internet, this is the lowest rated hotel in Muscat. I read the reviews. People talked about it like it was a haunted house with plumbing that charged you nightly rates. So naturally, I booked the room to see if it truly was the worst, or if the internet was just being dramatic. The hotel is located about 10 kilometers from International Airport. The exterior looked less like a hotel and more like a regular apartment building trying to blend in. It's a small one-star property with only 28 rooms. There was ample parking right in front, if you count a sandy patch as parking. Let's just say when the wind blew, my camera got a free exfoliation treatment, and so did I. This video is a non-sponsored review based solely on my personal experience and preferences. The opinions expressed here are honest and are not intended to negatively impact or defame any establishment. I have blurred the faces of individuals appearing in this video to respect their privacy. This content is not influenced by any business in any way. You might book the Savoy Inn for the price, but I'm booking it for the inspection. As a professional hotelier, I don't just check in. I'm looking for the things you can't see. The deep cleanliness, the hidden wear and tear, and customer services. First impressions. Confusing. As soon as I walked in, the confusion started. There was a massive reception desk in the tiny lobby, sitting completely empty. Instead, all the action was at a tiny desk on the opposite side. The lobby was cozy, but it featured a very dated aquarium holding some of the most confused looking fish I have ever seen, like they were reconsidering their life choices. I think they were wondering why I was there too. But here is where the hospitality professional in me got a surprise. I was expecting a grunt, but I was greeted immediately with a genuine smile within the first 3 minutes of my arrival, unlike some other hotels I won't name. The receptionist, Russell, was a legend, extremely friendly and courteous. Since I had paid in advance, he just checked my ID and handed me the key. No credit card authorization needed, no interrogation, simple. I didn't record the check-in process because Russell was camera shy and I didn't want to make him uncomfortable, but we had a great conversation. I later found out Russell wasn't even a receptionist. He was the housekeeping supervisor covering a break. That is some serious cross-training. That is a level of cross-training some 5-star hotels struggle with. They also handed me complimentary water upon check-in. A small touch, but in the Middle Eastern heat, it goes a long way. In this industry, we have two main products. Tangible products, the stuff you can touch, like the bed and the furniture. And intangible products, the stuff you can feel, like service. So far, the intangible service was starting off strong at the Savoy Inn, but the tangible product, well, let's go to the room. Walking to the room, the corridors were surprisingly clean and well lit. My hopes started to rise. The room. I was expecting a horror show, a dungeon, a room straight out of a nightmare, but honestly, it was decent. The whole decor gave me the feeling that I had time traveled back to the 1990s. The furniture had definitely seen better days. It was vintage, but not in the cool hipster way, more in the grandma's attic way. It had more history than a museum. It had a wardrobe, plenty of drawers, a TV and a mini bar, and a coffee table with chair. When we talk about ambiance, we're looking at the sensory DNA of the room, the lighting, the air quality, and the decor. In this property, the vibe feels more like a budget motel than a hotel. For air quality, it's actually neutral. There's no bad odor, but there's also no signature fragrance or fresh scents from an air freshener, which is a missed opportunity for a first impression. As for the lighting, you're stuck between two extremes. You can either have the dim, warm glow from the bedside lamps, which is okay for relaxing but a bit too dark, or the clinical harsh white light from the overhead fluorescent tubes. It lacks that middle ground, layered lighting that makes a room feel welcoming. The view was mostly city, but if you zoomed in enough, you could spot the sea. And to be fair, the window did a pretty good job canceling the outside noise. It wasn't noisy at all. It was quiet. So far, no nightmares. The first thing I always do is check for bedbugs, because that is the one souvenir you do not want to take home. I checked thoroughly using my trusty UV light, which I still haven't found a better replacement for. If you've ever wondered what UV light actually is, just think of it as a special frequency that makes certain hidden materials called phosphors light up like a neon sign. In industry terms, these are dried biological traces, likely sweat or saliva or other bodily fluids from previous days. Most of that will show up as a dull yellow or a faint greenish smudge. If you see a spot that's glowing a super bright, crisp white, don't panic. That's usually just cleaning detergent or soap residue. My scan showed several faint glowing stains on the mattress and the pillow. I also spotted a small, dark, non-reflective spot on the pillowcase. Because it absorbs the UV light rather than reflecting it, that's a classic indicator of a bloodstain. The comforter and pillows had serious mileage on them. Quite literally, every yellow and brown stain represented a night well slept, I assume, or a very tragic coffee spill, or let's not think about it. Now, I don't want to scare you. The UV light is a bit of an exaggerator because it reveals things the human eye was never meant to see. The reality is, even in 5-star luxury resorts, you are likely to find some level of biological traces if you look hard enough. It's the nature of the business. No cleaning process is 100% perfect. What matters is the extent of it and whether the hotel is actively managing it. Just to debunk the myth, this is not CSI, and blood does not glow brightly under UV light. There's a chemical called luminol that is used to make the blood glow at crime scenes. What about bedbugs? Here's a pro tip. While the bugs themselves like to stay hidden, the UV light is like a spotlight for their scraps. Look for tiny glowing flakes along the mattress seams. Those are often the discarded shells the bugs leave behind as they grow. You might also see dark, pepper-like spots that don't glow. That's a major red flag for bedbug activity. I scanned the mattress, the bedding, and the chair thoroughly. To my surprise, no bed bugs on the mattress or the bedding. On a serious note, While the well-laundered linen concealed the horrors beneath, the pillows were lumpy, but the mattress surprisingly comfy. Did I actually use the bedding and the towel? Well, that is a matter between me, my personal preferences, and I. They provided a single bath towel. It had a somewhat strong detergent fragrance and was quite rough. It had seen better decades, let alone days.
Lumpy.
And the floors? They weren't dirty per se, but for hygiene reasons, the shoes stayed on. However, the chair, let's just say it had its own ecosystem. There were so many mysterious stains, I think it was developing a personality. Now, as a hotelier, I understand it's simply not financially feasible for most properties to undergo a full renovation or soft goods refresh every couple of years. However, there comes a point where a refresh is no longer optional, and this property has reached that stage. While the wear and tear are visible, it's somewhat expected given that this is one of the most budget-friendly options in the city. You're paying for a bed, not a brand new showroom. The bathroom was the biggest letdown. The toilet bowl was somewhat clean, but the rest of the room felt like it had given up hope. An exhaust fan that was purely decorative. It didn't work at all. As for toiletries, we had 2 soaps and 2 sachets of shampoo. Minimalist living at its finest. In the main room, amenities included an electric kettle, sugar, creamer, and these loose open tea bags, which I dared not use. I like living on the edge, but not that close to the edge. Then tragedy struck. The AC in the room wasn't working. Now I run hot. Summers in New Zealand are often cooler than the winters here in Oman. I needed that AC. I called reception expecting to wait forever, but within 5 minutes a technician arrived and fixed it. I even pushed my luck and asked for an extension cord for my charger, thinking no way they have this. Moments later, the housekeeping supervisor came up with one that he took from his own office. That is a kind of service I wasn't expecting from a budget hotel. I checked out the fire safety, or lack thereof. Evacuation plans were basically non-existent. There were wide stairs next to the elevators, but I highly doubt they were fireproof. On the bright side, while there's no in-room dining or breakfast, there is an independent vegetarian restaurant on the premises. I tried it out and it was actually pretty good. The Wi-Fi speed was slow and the network was unreliable with abruptly disconnecting. Later that evening, I went down to check out the lobby again. I started chatting with a guy named Ghulam, who turned out to be the property manager. He was friendly, professional, and very insightful. I gave him my honest feedback about the excellent staff and he really appreciated it. Checkout was a breeze. I just handed in my room key and I was done. No fuss. The verdict. It's time for the performance review. Let's see if the Savoy Inn is a budget win or a professional no-go. Service and operations. 7 out of 10. This was the highlight of the stay. I was acknowledged in under 3 minutes and the check-in and out process was seamless. Professional, courteous, and went beyond to accommodate with what little facilities they had. The location. 7 out of 10. It's a functional spot. You're less than 10 minutes from the airport, and there's a supermarket just a 2-minute walk across the street. For a traveler on the move, it's very convenient. The ambiance. 4 out of 10. The lobby feels dated, featuring a tacky fridge behind a desk and a fish tank where the fish look like they're in a hostage situation. As for the room, it's a 4. While there's great natural light and no foul odors, the lack of layered lighting and extremely dated furniture makes it feel stuck in the past. Cleanliness and safety standards. 2.2 out of 10. Here's where the reality of budget sets in. Cleanliness was a major issue. The washroom was a total disappointment. A dirty shower, a non-working exhaust fan, and random PVC pipes running along the walls. The in-room amenities were basic, and the loose tea bags a health hazard. Finally, fire safety was almost non-existent. That's a critical 1 out of 10. The final score. We aren't counting general hotel amenities since they don't exist here. When you average the service and location against these serious room and safety gaps, the Savoy Inn earns a 4 out of 10, or 2 stars. Great service can't fix a dirty shower or a safety risk. You're paying for the location and the staff, but the room is a major compromise. Most of the negative reviews online are because of higher expectations rather than the valid ground reality, and that is unfair to the management and the employees. So, let's be realistic for a moment. Is this hotel in desperate need of a refurbishment? Absolutely. The floors need a scrub, and the furniture needs a funeral, and the towels need an exorcism. Do the online reviews reflect reality? Definitely not. We have to understand, you get what you pay for. For this price, you cannot expect a porte cochere, 24-hour in-room dining, or a fully stocked minibar. The amenities were sufficient for a budget traveler, though I wouldn't recommend a long-term stay. The service I received was far better than some 3 or 4-star hotels I stayed in. As someone who has managed luxury hotels, my advice to the owners is this. You already have an awesome intangible product. Now please invest in the tangible product. Paint the walls, buy new pillows, and for the love of God, get new furniture. It's perfect for budget travelers near the airport, but lower your expectations as higher expectations come with higher price tag. Until next time, peace.